Hello, I'm Roberto, and we are learning Rust, even if today we don't learn probably a lot of Rust, but we learn something interesting anyway. Here with us today, we have, like always,
Luciano, hello everyone.
but we also have somebody new.
Michele, hello everyone.
Michele, hello. Michele, I will leave you to present yourself, but he's the co-founder of OramaSearch. That is a search engine for stuff. Now, Michele, do you want to explain a little bit what is OramaSearch?
Yeah, sure. So OramaSearch is a full text and vector search engine that is capable of running on edge networks. So whenever you want to deploy your application on OramaSearch, you are actually deploying your search index in 300 global locations in more than 100 countries worldwide. And that makes things extremely fast. And because, of course, you're basically avoiding latency with every single request. And it's powered by JavaScript and Rust, but I'm probably not the best person here to talk about Rust. So I won't proceed doing so. But yeah, it's fun because it's a full text search engine and vector search engine entirely written in TypeScript. And that what makes it interesting to me. And that's the only reason why it can actually run on edge networks in the first place. So yeah, that's what it does. It's pretty fun. I hope you enjoy it.
Perfect. So if you don't know our channel, in this channel we talk about normally Rust, but technology in general. So you can find the recording of previous stream on YouTube, and if you're watching this on YouTube, we stream every Monday, 6 p.m. Dublin time on Twitch. So basically today what we are going to do, Luciano, we are going to take your blog that we worked already 1 or 2 times ago, and we are going to index it with OramaSearch, correct?
That's one option. We don't necessarily have to do exactly that, but it's probably the easiest starting point for us because at least we have around 70 articles. So there is a little bit of material there that we can, like, it makes sense to see what is the result of trying to index that.
Fine. So we start with what? We create an Orama Cloud. Do you want to explain what's the difference between Orama Cloud and Orama open source before that?
Yeah, sure. So the main difference is, so the engine is the same, but deploying a JavaScript application at the edge, especially with large amount of data, it's not simple. So we aim to simplify the process by deploying and giving support for larger indexes for you. So if you're using Orama open source, you can certainly run full text search queries and vector search queries on your browser directly. But if you have like 70 articles, maybe the index size is gonna grow, and it's gonna take more and more time to download the index to the browser in the first place. So that's definitely one issue. And by moving that part to the server, specifically on an edge node, you're avoiding your users to download the entire bundle every single time. So I find this to be a bit more convenient when you have a lot of data, and it's all free, so it kind of makes sense to test it out, I guess. And yeah, that's basically the main difference. Of course, you could deploy the open source Orama yourself on whatever you want, on behind a Fastify application, for example, or with Hono on Cloudflare Workers yourself. It's not going to be super simple. So again, we are trying to simplify the process for you.
So if I understand correctly, just to rephrase all of that, Orama in itself, like the core of it is very simple, meaning that it's a way to create an index out of whatever information you want. Then you can query that index. That's kind of the easy part. Then I guess productionizing all of that is where it might get tricky. You can run that directly in the client side, so directly in the browser, you can fetch that index and do search from JavaScript that way. But of course, the more information, the bigger the index. So it's not going to really scale much. So the other approach will be, okay, you keep that index in one or more servers somewhere, and then client side, you just do a request to that server to do the search for you. So the user doesn't have to pay the cost for kind of downloading and searching across all of that big index, right? So OramaSearch tries to simplify all of that kind of distributed deployment on the cloud.
This reminds me when I still had a blog, it was 2014, and I had like 30 articles, and I created a JSON that was the index of all those articles, so word and where to find the words. And just for those articles, it was 1.5 MB JSON. And yes, the download of that 1.5 megabyte JSON when doing the search was at the time taking a lot of time for a very small blog like it was. But it was a static generated blog with Pelican, so I didn't want any kind of backend running anything. So that was a limit, honestly. Yeah, so.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen, and I think the first thing we should do is probably sign up on Orama, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so this is the website. By the way, you should see that also on screen and in the chat if you want to check it out yourself. And I haven't signed up yet, so we are gonna see what it takes to create an account.
Hopefully not much. Let's see.
So I'm just gonna do create an account. I'm just gonna sign up with GitHub because why not? Looks cool. And authorize.
Yeah, you authorize them to take all your
All my
firstborn
data.
child. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm
Now
about to do everything for you.
Okay, that seemed very easy. Apparently, I have an account now. What do we do next?
So you can ingest your data with Orama in different ways. You can import files, like static files like JSON and CSV files. You can link to an e-commerce like Elasticpath or Shopify, of course, more to come. Or you can create a custom integration by using the REST API. So you expose a REST API and we fetch it for you every now and then. Or, and that's what I would suggest you can use a webhook. So you basically create a new search index. You tell me the schema of your data, like it's going to have a title, it's going to have a content, it's going to have, I don't know, reading time, whatever you want. And then I give you a URL to call so that you can notify for changes and redeploy the index when you're satisfied with your changes. So my suggestion would be either to go with the static JSON file, so you can generate the file locally and just drag and drop it, or something a bit more complex, but you can always use the webhook if you prefer.
Okay, is there also an option where you can push data to an API?
Oh yes, actually the webhook, that's what it does.
Okay, so it's basically, you send the index, I imagine, or something similar to an index directly to the webhook, right?
So the webhook works the following way. First of all, the Orama indexes are all immutable. So once you deploy them, you can't edit them anymore. So what you do is you deploy your index, and then let's say you want to change the title of an article, you can notify the server. So you can notify Orama saying, hey, this is changing. So this is the new title. This is the document ID. This is the new title. Just update it or remove it or upsert it, like you name it. And then you have to call, when you're satisfied with your edits, you have to call a deploy API, which basically starts the deployment process, which takes just a couple of minutes, and will redeploy the entire index worldwide for you. As an alternative, you can upload what it's called a snapshot. So you can create the entire index locally, and you can upload all the documents in batch or at once. So the snapshot will substitute the current index.
It's funny, we have Tommaso in the chat, and he's saying, we are going to test a new version directly in production during a stream, so what can possibly go wrong? We'll find out.
Like 1 hour ago.
So Luciano, we have that script we used for Bedrock that was going through all the markdown of your blog and submitting them to Bedrock. We can do something similar, take the code from there. We can go through all your markdown files, strip them out of what we need to strip out, and create this JSON that should go to this index in Orama. So, right?
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. I imagine I need here to do something, right? I need to create a webhook somehow, or
you have to create the search index, so you can head to custom integration.
Okay.
Yes, and then
let's say blog, maybe blog.
Perfect. Yep.
That is the idea of your. But well, blog can be fine. Probably was your name more appropriate.
Okay, and then we pick webhook, right?
Yes. We're gonna generate a random ID for you, so you don't have to create.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. To avoid clashes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
All right.
see if there is.
You want examples. I saw you want examples.
Yes.
So you can
Please
go
see
see
examples up there.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with Orama, which like I suppose most of the people want, you can see examples of what is a search property, or I can tell you, like it's your
Okay,
choice.
so let's go with the examples. I don't know if this is readable enough. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger, but basically this is right. So this is kind of the data, the example data, and this is the schema that represents the structure of this data.
Correct.
So we should probably think about what do we want to index for blog posts, right? So
Exactly. If you want to see more like all the data type that we support, you can click on how to create a schema. And if you're interested in learning more about optimizations, you can click on learn more about schema optimization. But for the sake of this, process, maybe I can tell you directly.
yeah, go for it.
So when you create a schema, you're not pointing out all the properties that are gonna be inside your document, but only the properties you're gonna use for searching or filtering. So in the example here, you have breed, Labrador Retriever, which is of type string. So you might want to search for Labrador or Retriever or German Shepherd, whatever. So you definitely want to have breed inside your schema. You might want to, filter by favorite, like favorite equals true or favorite equals false. So you want to have favorite is equal to Boolean in your schema. You might not want to filter by longevity, for example, greater than, less than, etc. So you can leave it apart. You might want to filter by country. In that case, it can be either string or enum. So it can be an enumeration of values or a string, depending on how you want to perform search. But yeah, that's basically it. Talking about a blog post, I suppose you're going to have a title, blog post content, maybe an ID. But again, you don't want to search by ID. So you're going to omit that. And I don't know how many other values you might want to have.
Yeah, we probably have like a description and then a set of tags which might be relevant for search. Then we have more fields like the date and other stuff, which is probably not going to be very relevant for search.
Or maybe you wanna just use them for filtering, like give me all the blog posts between those two dates, or give me all the blog posts with that specific tag. So this is something you can probably do.
Try to bring up one markdown file so we take a look at the headers.
Yes, so I should have my editor here. Hopefully it's readable enough. So this was the script we created a few streams
last
ago,
time.
the one that takes all the stuff and asks Bedrock to create suggestion for descriptions and title and that kind of stuff.
We should add to this one the reading time. That is something that I think Bedrock can guess. But next time.
Yeah, or I think there is a standard formula. Anyway, here we have search, source content, posts. If we take, I don't know, the last blog post, every blog post is effectively a folder with an index MD and all the assets like pictures, diagrams, whatever related to that blog post. So if we go to an index MD here, we should have all the information we want to index. For instance, the title, potentially the slug, just because I guess when I get a search result, I will need this information to...
You're going to get it anyway if you
Okay.
include it inside your document, but you don't want to search by slug. So you shouldn't include it inside your schema.
In the schema, perfect. Okay, so you can submit more properties, but only the ones in the schema are the ones that are indexed for search.
Exactly. Effectively, Orama is semi-schemaless. Because you have to point the schema for the searchable properties, but you can have several sparse properties that are not meant for searching or filtering.
Awesome. Okay, that kind of answers a question I had in my mind. So then we have the subtitle, which might also be relevant for search, tags, and then description. And then I suppose all the content here will probably need to clean something up, but effectively, this will be the main thing to search on.
Date and updated makes sense to make date searchable. Date is the date you wrote it, you published it. What is that?
It's the date of publishing, but I don't know. I don't feel like I need that information for search right now.
I wouldn't.
Okay. Okay, let's leave it out. So we start writing a script in TypeScript that takes some of the old script, parse all of this, and creates our JSON. What
Do
we
we
need
need to create the schema first here?
Yes, I would recommend you create. You can always edit it, so no big deal if you want to change it later. But yeah, I would probably put starting by title, probably.
Okay, is this editable? Oh yeah, now
Yeah.
it's answering. So this is a JSON field.
That's
So
amazing. Yeah.
I need to title, and this is, do we just say string, right? That's the data type. Then we have description, which is gonna be string, not strong. Then we have subtitle, which is also gonna be a string. And then we have tags, which is gonna be an array of strings. So this is what strings.
An array of enum, actually.
Okay. Is it gonna recognize the values of an enum automatically?
Yes, you can create facets and groups based on these enum fields. So you can group your results by, let's say, AWS, or group results by another tag of your choice.
Okay, so what's the syntax? Is it enum square?
Correct. Yes, just like in TypeScript.
Perfect. And then we have content. I guess that should be the last one. And this is probably a big string with quotes.
Yeah, we're also working on a schema builder, so you don't have to write JSON manually, but we're a young company.
I guess, yeah, as a developer, this is not too bad, and it's nicely highlighted, so that's good. Okay, so save.
Yep.
Is that it? Cool. Okay.
All right.
So this is my webhook. I imagine this is a bit sensitive, so probably I will destroy this index after the stream I recreated, or not?
No, so this is not sensitive. The private API key that you see here, that it's not exposed, this is sensitive.
Cool.
But of
So
course,
I will need to fetch this from somewhere else and put it in an environment.
Well, if we can upload the file directly, probably we don't need to call the API, or
so
can we upload JSON?
In that case, you're not uploading a JSON, but you are creating a webhook. So you will need to use this API. What you can do is you can create an API and delete API key, and delete it after the stream. So it's not a problem. It's all random. You just create a new one.
Yeah, I can do it off screen and save it in an environment variable, right? So we don't have to show it.
Yeah, and as you can see here, you can retrieve your API key or create a new one in developers tools.
So basically, you are just sending the content straight away here.
In that case, yes. There is a limitation right now where you can only insert up to 4 megabytes, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So if the content is greater than, in size is greater than 4 megabytes, I would recommend you using the insert update API that you see in the tab menu right near to insert snapshot.
4 megabyte. This reminds me of Lambda's AWS without an API gateway.
It is Lambda.
Then it's probably 6 megabytes. But yeah,
so probably
it was not 4. Well, last time I used Lambdas, it was 4, I remember. But yeah, they change limits every now and then.
Okay, so we can check. I mean, we don't know how big it's going to be. Probably with 70 articles, it might get bigger than 6 megabytes. Right?
Yeah.
So what we have to do again if it becomes bigger?
So if you can't insert the snapshot because it's too big, of course,
there you go. This one, right?
You can insert 10 documents at a time. Just loop over the documents and insert them
Right. So you do multiple calls to the index.
Yeah.
To
as
the
you can see, as you can see, Upsert accepts an array of fields. So you can just push an array of 10 documents at a time, and this is going to work.
When you upsert, if you upsert 2 times the same document, is adding it or is able to dedupe the call?
So it's going to keep a queue of all the operation and then merge the operations you're asking for. So if you upsert a document with ID 1, then do 10 operations and then upsert another document with the same ID, during the merge strategy, you will basically applied last edit.
Okay, so is either okay, you take the last one. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't need to install anything, right? Because we just need to call this API.
Correct.
So
you can either call fetch or CURL, your choice.
Okay, so where do I get the API key?
So if you see the link right below this code example, you have the link to developer tools.
Right.
And you can create a new API key there.
Okay, I'm gonna do all of that off screen. So trust me that I'm doing that.
It's I can ensure it's not a problem if you share this right now. I can delete that for you later if you forget.
Oh, well,
okay.
off screen is good. Off screen is good. You export an environment variable and magic happens.
Exactly.
Perfect.
So what I should be doing here, I can do export
we are seeing
API. You are seeing that, but hopefully, if my magic works, I can do pb paste.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
We will find out in 5 minutes.
Exactly. When we do the first request and it says not authorized, we'll see what the hell did I do there.
There is an end like this. Who are you?
Exactly. That could happen. All right. So what we can do here is switch to the IDE, which should be somewhere. There we go. We already had a script here called post enrichment. We can do another one called, I don't know. Let's start with a copy because I think this is a good starting point. And we call it send to Orama.
And now is reindexing everything.
What the heck? Yeah, well, stop there. Okay. Send to Orama.
I start using VS Code because it was lighter than IDE that were doing all this kind of bullshit, and now VS Code is doing this kind of bullshit.
Exactly.
And I will switch to a next editor without this kind of bullshit. And this is
let me clean
circles.
Up all the stuff we don't need. Okay, so generate metadata, it's probably a good structure. So we have file content, we split the front matter and the article content. Parse front matter, we do the parse YAML, so we have all the fields. This we don't care. This is the prompt we use for Bedrock.
We don't care anymore.
We don't care anymore. We don't care about the model input. And I think most of this stuff we can probably remove. Yeah, try blah, blah, blah.
There is any kind of rate limit if we call the API with an upsert once per file? I mean, we will come out doing 70 upsert with 70 files. Is that a problem?
No, it's not going to be a problem right now.
So in our loop through all the documents, we can do a call for every document and upsert.
Yeah, we could do something like send to OramaSearch, something like this.
Capital S? No. Okay,
I guess.
Oh yeah, it's the same. No problem.
No, I don't know if it's OramaSearch altogether or Orama space.
Oh, personally, I don't know. Like Orama is the library.
If you don't know, I raise my hands.
I'm just the co-founder, so don't ask me.
Yeah, exactly. Who are you to know it?
Okay, so we have the API key is gonna be const API key. Ooh, did I call it Orama API key? Look at that. Copilot knows everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am a little bit.
Sorry, let me make it bigger. Is this readable?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we can go back here and copy that request. Actually, let's do simple stuff first. So what do we want to get? We said we have the front matter. We have the content. So we need to extract const title, subtitle, description,
are all the fields mandatory or are they optional somehow? I mean, we declare that we have a title string. We always need to post title, or that field can be somehow optional?
I would recommend putting an empty string if you don't wanna. So you
So
can probably default it to an empty string.
for array, you can default to empty array. For a Boolean, okay, it's hard. For tags,
Boolean,
you default.
that's the okay. No, with Boolean, I would recommend putting the Boolean, because if you send like an undefined or null, this is going to be coerced to a false value.
Okay,
But
so you don't have in your data types, you don't have optional yet.
No, there's no optional yet. Even though you can insert nulls, but for the title could be null, but for booleans, it would get coerced to a false value. Because
but let's try not to reiterate the error of using nulls. So let's point to use optionals.
Yeah, we should use optionals.
Okay, the other thing is that you were saying before the stream that it is better to clean up the markdown, meaning that if I have raw tags, like, I don't know, YouTube includes, like iframes, that kind of stuff, it's better to just remove all of that to keep like a pure text representation, right? And you were saying me that there is a PR somewhere in the Node.js repository that has a function that does exactly that. So takes rich text and clean it up a little bit, right?
Yeah, that should work.
I'm just gonna copy all of that very lazily and trust you that it does the trick. And we can
you
basically
don't have to export it, I think.
Oh yeah, that's right. I don't have to export it. I can just keep it there for now. And here I can just say const content equal all of that. Thank you, Copilot. Parse rich text into plain text, article content. So I think this is everything we need to send to.
Would you mind maybe printing that to the console just to make sure that it's working properly?
Okay, let's do console log of
try to create the JSON that we want to send out. So we check. We check if the JSON that we want to send out makes sense.
The JSON looks like absurd and then an array with all the values, right?
Yes.
With one object, an array with one object with all the fields that we defined that I already forgot.
Let's just say const operation equal absurd of an array with all these fields. So we basically have title, subtitle, description, tags, content, and slug. Is that it? And now we console log operation. Now this is going to be a big JSON because the content might be very big, but let's see what happens.
Break after the first loop.
Yeah, good point. Good idea.
So we just do what the first article. When that works, we remove the break. Good
idea. Okay, so if I can find my terminal, we can do tsx, well, pm tsx scripts send to Orama TS. Cool, let's see. So this is actually the first article is quite small, so that's good.
Tags is array.
It's just the visualization here.
It's the visualizer. Okay. Not broken. Okay, cool.
Right,
we can do, if you want to be super sure, what we can do is JSON stringify null2, and now we should see all the JSON, including the tags. Yeah, there is only one tag.
Okay, cool. Is Orama fine with the /n and okay, no problem.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Cool. So can we do the request now? I guess.
Yes, let's try. I cross my fingers.
Okay, so what we need to do is a fetch. So we need to do const request.
You will need two fetches, actually. The first one is to notify the upsert, and the last one to deploy. So just for
okay. So we do all the upserts, and then at the end there is kind of a freeze type of operation that says, well, all the changes I did now materialize them somehow.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if Copilot is getting anything right. It's quite funny. API.orama.ai.
Definitely not. You can find the URL in the dashboard.
Yeah, so let's do fetch. We have a URL there. And yeah, let's copy paste it.
This is a post request.
It's
it's
interesting. Yeah, when you put D, I think by default curl says it's a post.
Yes, because
Because in the sample below there is the dash X.
Oh yeah, it's
post.
explicitly. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, in the one above doesn't. So
yeah, maybe it's better if we explicit that.
Yeah. Quick feedback, user feedback.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's appreciated.
Let's create another one. Const Orama URL, and we do that without that slash. And so what we need to do is fetch that Orama URL. We also need to pass headers, and we say content type application JSON.
I think you also have to put the method to post.
Yes, good point. Method post, and then we need to put the body, which is JSON stringify over hash, right?
That should work. Yeah.
Now this is sending us a response. So what we want to do is console log response status code, maybe.
Okay, so you say after we do this for one article, the index is not built yet because it's waiting to be published.
Yes.
So we can do this and check what is there. Cool.
Yeah.
Can we check on the web page what we post? Okay, let's go on.
No, you on the dashboard you can't check the status. You have to deploy it to actually check that there's everything inside. That's a pretty new development for us. So yeah, we're still in the process.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so now if we run this guy, let's see what happens. 200. So the first thing went fine. Other piece of feedback, maybe 201 is a little bit more appropriate.
You're right. there's only one problem now. If you're running this code again, you're going to insert the same document twice because you didn't explicit the ID for the document.
Ooh, good point. I can use the slug as an ID.
The slug is the ID for us.
It is for you, but it's not for Orama because it doesn't know that.
Exactly. How do we tell it that?
You can put a property called ID, and that's it.
Just
and
ID,
you don't
right?
have to declare that in the schema.
No, by default, the ID property is considered as an ID.
And it can be string, integer, anything?
It gets coarse to string anyway.
Okay.
Awesome. So, well, I'm still going to insert that twice because we didn't have an ID first, but whatever.
So what I recommend you to do is before you run everything, always to empty your index. So by emptying your indexes, it means you're asking Orama in the next deployment, the first thing to do is wipe everything out of the index. Of course, your live deployment will stay the same, but you wipe the index, you insert new data, and then redeploy. To wipe the index, you can just use the snapshot API we just saw and pass an empty array.
Oh, cool. Okay. So it's the same URL, it's just a different syntax, right?
Yes, instead of notify, it should be a snapshot.
It's this one.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. So let's do that. Let's do Orama notify.
Base URL.
And, or actually, yeah, I suppose let's do base URL. I like it more. And we
remove notify from it, and then we have a notify and a snapshot one.
We do that in here, and we say, and we do, actually, I'm going to remove the slash, so here it looks a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
This is notify.
You are so fancy.
And then we can copy all of this
before the loop
in here, and we say, okay, clean up Orama index, and we copy all of this. This is snapshot.
Correct.
You pass
and
an empty
this
array.
Is an empty array, right?
I think so. Just please go back and see. I don't remember right now, but it should be just an empty array.
So let's just do if resp status equal 200. We do console.log, and we say, yes, cleaned up. And now we can repeat all of this. And let's just do slug and response status. So we should see as we go all the slugs and the status code. Now this is gonna not gonna do anything yet. So it's just gonna do all the notify operations. We still need to do an extra API call to freeze and submit the index, but we can try that later, right?
Yeah, if you want, we can. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, I'm gonna remove the break.
Oh,
Do
yeah?
we feel brave enough?
Yes,
Let's
go.
Let's go. Okay, it did succeed, the first one. And now it's doing a lot. Now this is a bit dummy because we could parallelize a bit more, I imagine. This is just doing it sequentially.
It's not going to work on Node 20.10 because there is a bug with fetch. So you're going to need to upgrade to Node 20.5. I've been fighting that bug for a very long time. Yeah.
So I'm using exactly the version I shouldn't be using. That's cool.
No, it's not like, of course, it's not your fault. It's no one's fault. But it was funny because we've been, while we wait, we've been integrating Orama on the official Node.js website for a couple of weeks now. And I had to use Dino or Ban to update the index on Node.js.
Nice.
Then I figured out that they fixed the bug in Node 20.5. But yeah, that was fun.
Okay, I guess no point in seeing all of this stuff happening because it might take another
go to the documentation and look for what is the call to do the consolidation of the snapshot while we wait.
Meanwhile, we have brought 00 in the chat saying the deploy command is a very cool feature. So people appreciate OramaSearch. By the way, if anyone has comments or questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat and we can discuss them.
Absolutely.
All right, so go to the documentation. What did you want to see? Sorry, Roberto.
Deploy data.
The deploy data, yeah, the endpoint below that one. If you go
it's just slash deploy, right?
Deploy. Yes, without
you can do that. You can do that from the command line once the command is done.
You could do that from the either from the command line or from the dashboard, but I would recommend starting, automatizing everything from the beginning. I would just put up, a fetch code.
It was just to not run again the script with all the loop on top of 70 documents and wait for them again. So just.
Oh, you're right. Yes.
It was a shortcut.
You're right.
Yeah, I guess if I were to productionize all of this, I would probably do this stuff somewhere, maybe in GitHub Actions, maybe on an action that runs only when there are changes on the files inside that folder where I know I only keep the blog posts. And I'm going to execute it in a way that gets the diff of only the files changed, meaning the names of the file change, I will reindex only those. Should be doable to do something like that. Have you seen this kind of use cases?
I did something like that in our compiler for the Rust Advent of Code, where I do the vagrant test only for the Rust file that changed. If you remember the flame chart, the vagrant test, those are done only on top of the file that are changing, so you can take the same exit code from that GitHub action.
Awesome. Okay, so is that a reasonable idea, Michele, for what you've seen in the wild?
No, absolutely. I would definitely recommend using GitHub Actions for this specific case. Only when you merge to main, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And only when there are diffs in those particular files that are relevant.
Yes. One nice thing that I can tell you while we wait is that you can create unlimited indexes with Orama Cloud. So you could create an index for, let's say, develop, where you preview all your search data, and you can create, the main index. So
nice. Like you can have two environments, so to speak, but for indices.
Yeah, you can create unlimited environments on Orama.
Okay, are we done with the console?
I imagine we should be. Yeah, it's done. So we need to add the new thing. We need to add this request, right?
Yes.
Yeah, at the end.
So it's basically
It's a post
this one.
request / yes. It's this one without body / deploy.
Exactly. I'm just gonna copy all of this because I'm lazy, and just
And
Maybe
still a
say
post.
Yes.
submit the index.
Call
Or
it the deploy, but if you
deploy.
want.
Yeah, let's say deploy.
I won't promise anything, but it should be real time. So that I'm very proud of this if it works. But if you start the deployment, it should appear immediately on the dashboard, just right where you are, so you can follow the deployment process with some
Why
fancy
is
logs.
complaining on line 93 about
That I'm reusing
your-
resp, I guess.
Ah, you are shadowing the variable, okay.
Yeah, deploy resp. Okay. In Rust, you can do that. So cool. So we're gonna run this again. It's gonna take a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, we are gonna go and
Late.
explore
The index now is clean.
So where do we go?
All right. If you stay here, you see that you now have a warning saying you have updated your dataset, but you haven't deployed the index yet. So just deploy this. When you call the deploy API, it will appear right above the warning. It will appear a log that shows the process of deploying everything. It should take 30 seconds to 1 minute to deploy your blog worldwide. That's my assumption. Let's see if that works and if that's correct, which is not to take for granted. But yeah, you can follow the process, and if you have any problem, and anyone is listening now has any problem, you can just copy the error code from the log here, send it to us on our Slack channel, and we will debug that for you.
What happens now if Luciano clicks deploy your index while we are looping and adding stuff to the index?
It will deploy, like there is a queue, it will freeze the queue and deploy the queue.
Okay. So you can click there, the scripts can go on adding new documents to the index, and when the last deployment from the script will trigger, it will trigger another deployment.
Correct. Yes.
Any limit on the number of parallel deployments if somebody fucks up a script and starts to deploy like a mad
you can only deploy
it's happening, by the way. Look at that.
You can expand logs if you want.
I love the live reload feature, by the way.
Oh, nice. All right, it's already deploying.
But you were saying if somebody tries to deploy too much, what is
No, you can deploy once at a time, one index at a time.
It was pretty fast. Look at that.
Yeah. All right, that worked.
Nice.
So
now, how do we do searches?
Cool. If you go down here, scroll down, or collapse logs as you prefer. Now it changed the page while we were looking at the logs, and now you have a guide on how to integrate search with JavaScript and React. I would recommend you using JavaScript, not like the vanilla one. I think we're gonna dismiss the React one in favor of a different approach, but that's basically how it works. And in case you're wondering, this API key is a public key, so you can share it on the front end.
No problem. Yeah, this is something that needs to be available to the front end, right? Yeah, makes sense.
You just have to install the Orama Cloud /client package, copy paste the code, and you're ready to go.
Cool. And I could do that also from Node.js, for instance, as a kind of a demo thing right now.
Yes, that works on every JavaScript runtime.
Nice. I don't want to know the efforts of making code that works. Yeah, that could be another episode or maybe a series of episodes on how to code that way. Yeah.
We follow each other on Twitter, and you know how much I rant about interoperability of functions between JavaScript runtimes, and that's the reason why.
Yep. Okay.
So here, this is using a client, but under the hood.
There is a curl here. Yeah. No, this is the curl to update the dataset.
No, my curiosity was: is there a curl equivalent to query the index, or is too complicated?
Right now, there is not, and the reason why is that we have to gather some data before allowing you to perform search. So when you instantiate a new Orama client, we have to make a preliminary call to fetch some data and then allow you to run queries. This is all pretty fast,
Okay.
but you can do that with just a CRL call. Right now, we only support JavaScript. Of course, we will support all the programming languages out there.
Okay, so basically, probably when you instantiate the client, you look for the nearest server to call, and you put that in the client, and then the calls are against the nearest server. That is what Google was solving with DNS front-end fleet. But okay, that's a complicated way to solve the problem, having the DNS to answer you a different IP based on where you are.
No, we've been a bit more lazy than that, and we are leveraging a global CDN to automatically do that for us.
No, but it's good to start easy because the Google way is incredibly complicated to handle. They can handle it, but...
By the way, we have a question in the chat for Michele.
Yeah.
Are you planning to increase the limit of 10 fields in the schema?
So that's a suggestion, actually. So you can put more fields if you want. You're going to have the best performances are under 10 fields, probably, especially if those fields are string fields. So I would recommend staying under, but of course, if you have a different necessity, you can go over 10 properties.
Okay, so it's just an indication because you have good performance that way, but if you need more, you pay basically the trade-off of
correct,
slower searches for more fields.
Yes.
So Luciano, what we can do next is taking this snippet of code, install in another folder the Orama Cloud client, and let's see.
Yeah, we can actually just do pm add this guy, and we can do another script in here, and we just call it search, I guess, search ts, because I'm bad with naming, and literally we can just copy all of this. I'm not gonna search for red leather shoes.
Why not?
Right? So what can we do?
There
is one parameter missing. We have to update this. You have to pass mode. So term, limit if you want, and mode, which must be full text in that case, because you don't have vectors for these. Like, if you remember when you created the index, you could choose automatic embedding generation. If you generate embeddings or give me your own embeddings for performing search, you can also perform vector and hybrid search. In that case, you have to specify that you want to perform full text search.
Okay.
Okay, try to search, I don't know, Rust and Python in Rust space Python. Let's see if you have articles that speak of both of them. Probably not, but I'm curious.
And then we need to print the results, right?
Yes. I would recommend you use the Node inspect APIs, so you can, because this is going to be a big JSON. So if you use the APIs, you can see the JSON with colors without having to run JSON stringify null2.
How does that work? I don't think I ever.
So you can import inspect from Node double column utils.
Inspect from
util,
Node util.
Yeah, and then console log results.
Inspect like results.
That. And after results, you have to pass. Don't remember. It should be show hidden true. That's null and colors true.
Depth null and colors true. Okay, I didn't know this one, so that's pretty good.
Oh, you're gonna love this.
I'm excited to see what happens.
Before you proceed, one thing to know: the search engine right now is in sleep mode, so the first search is gonna be a bit slower. If you keep searching, like search as you type, this is gonna be incredibly fast, but the first search could be like 1 second in delay or 2 seconds in delay because it's in sleep mode. And most importantly, now by default, you search for all the documents that have either Rust or Python. If you use the threshold parameter, you can say, all right, just return me all the documents that have both parameters. So the research is going to be a bit more precise. You can control this.
So it's called
threshold should be, if it's 0, it means return both. If it's one, and that's a floating point number, there is an explanation on why on our documentation, of course. But if it's one, you're basically saying, all right, either Rust
it
or
needs to have both.
Yes.
Right? If it's one. If it's zero, it means either one or the other, right?
No, that's the opposite. So
okay, so I want zero.
Zero is the end, one is the or, and you have all the flavor in the middle of it.
Correct. Yes.
Because of course I can have multiple keywords here, right? So you, right or not?
Yes.
So if you search a Python or Rust, it's going to put the one that have both on the top and the one that have only once on the bottom, or you don't sort the results? You sort.
No, we do sort the result by using the BM25 algorithm. So
Okay.
yes.
And
the
I will
last
Google
thing
after this call. Yeah.
if you're not interested about returning, for example, the content because it's too big, you can just say returning and an array of properties you want to return. This is interesting when you perform search as you type, where you only show the title and the description, because you minimize the latency by removing search properties that you're not interested in returning, but you're only interested in searching through. I don't know.
So at the moment, here can be useful to just return a title and slug, because you can create an hyperlink that goes to the article, basically.
Correct.
With that.
Yes.
Okay, let's run this first, and then we can tweak it. Either the query, we can maybe learn a little bit more all this concept, how to query it best, I guess, and then maybe tweak the results. Cool. So I can do pnpm tsx scripts search. No, search.
No, don't do that.
Let's see what happens. Is taking a few seconds, as you predicted. And then we have, cool.
I saw
so we have
account
5
9
documents. There we go. So let's start with the first one. It's, so this is the result. It's, and we have an array, and we have a score. The score is what? How close it is to the search?
No. Yes, kind of. This is basically the score is the BM25 plus the FIDF scoring of your search based on the input keywords. So if you search, for example, for, let's say you're in a, I don't know, on the Apple's website, and there is a blog post where you write iPhone 1,000 times, and you search for iPhone, by default, a search engine might say, oh, wow, this article says iPhone 1,000 times. This must be relevant. But it's actually not. So to prevent spam, we use BM25 that allows you to determine if a term or a keyword has been abused inside a document. So there is a whole algorithm behind this that basically allows you to determine if the relevancy of a given keyword inside a document is factual or not. And this is the score representing your keywords in relations with the fields in the document.
Cool. So it's a semantic search that keeps all this stuff into account.
Correct.
That's pretty cool. Okay, it's not just a naive search. Have you used this particular term? Yes or no? Okay, so that's what we got. And then there is a second item with a lower score, so that makes sense that it comes second. And then, yeah, this is all the content. And then we have another one, and I think we gave a limit of 5, so I expect another one, and that's it. Yes, cool. So we got all the fields, so we also have the slug. So theoretically, if I was running this client side, I would just show some kind of drop down where you type, and it's gonna just show maybe the title of the blog post, and then if you click enter or click the item, it knows it needs to go to blog loijo.co/ value here.
Yes, correct.
That account 9 elapsed formatted is...
So as I was telling you, the first query is going to take a bit longer. So in that case, it's 1 second. And we count at nanoseconds precision because we are running specifically on Cloudflare Workers, where we only have 50 milliseconds of CPU time for each request. And for that reason, we have to be very conscious on how much CPU we are using. And in fact, the search time is always going to be microseconds, but we have to wait for the whole engine to warm up if you're not being using for a while. So we're in idle time that doesn't count as CPU time, of course, on Cloudflare.
Okay.
And that's why you might have like 1 second for the first search, and then like ideally 80 to 120 milliseconds, and that's round trip time, meaning since I hit enter and then I get the results back. So this is not the execution time, but this is the round trip time from your request, from your machine.
Mm-hmm.
The count 9 is?
The total number of results for pagination for your search query.
Okay. So if Luciano runs it again, it should be instant. It should be take just an instant.
It depends if it's going in sleep already, it's not going to be instant. Otherwise, it's going to be very fast. You can try twice in a row, and the second one is going to be pretty fast.
Yeah, this was much faster. 191. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so anything else we want to share, because we are, I guess, close to the end of the episode?
Can we just show how to just get title and slug back, removing all the...
Oh, yeah, let's do that. Let's do... So results is basically its and then it's objects, right? So I imagine what I can do is...
Nope.
No, it's a parameter.
Yeah, if you go on line 13 and you go and
fields.
say returning.
No, Copilot is not smart enough. Okay.
We released this today, so that's pretty new.
Perfect, let's try it.
Slug and
oh shoot, title. You're right.
Is that it?
Try.
What can go wrong?
Is that exactly. It? Or... Cool, let's try again. Yeah, pretty cool.
So and you see, this is going to be a bit faster because you don't have to return big bodies in the response body. So
makes sense.
Less latency.
So rather than myself filtering client side, which means I received all the data, including all the big body, this is filtering on the server side. So it's giving me exactly only the bare minimum data that I want for whatever UI I'm building. In this case, it's just a CLI, but supposedly I would run this on my website with some kind of search and drop down where ideally I don't care about the body, right?
Correct. And as you can see, there is another optimization you can do. If you go inside document, you have the document ID and the slug, which are exactly the same. So just
right. So I don't need the slug. Yeah, I didn't realize that the ID would be there anyway, which makes sense. So if I do that, this is going to be even more concise. Yeah.
So cool.
I have a quick question though.
Okay.
Okay, Roberto, you go first.
No, I go second. Go first.
Cool. So you know that sometimes when you have this kind of search feature, maybe there is a specific paragraph that is more relevant that, I don't know, maybe you want to show, okay, I found what you're looking for in this blog post called, I don't know, why you should be using OramaSearch, maybe. And then you can show like a little snippet that highlights, I don't know, maybe you search for fastest search and it shows you something like, whatever, Orama is the fastest search and that word is somehow highlighted. Is that something that is easily possible, or it even makes sense for this particular type of search?
I'm not sure I totally understand the requirement.
I think the requirement that Luciano wants is, given the content that is a big text, I want back a part of the content around the term I searched.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. No, we don't do that yet. What I can suggest you, if you go on npm and look for at Orama/highlight, we trim the content for you, and we do apply your own CSS classes for you, and trim a specific length, so you can only display that if you prefer.
Like this. Let's see if I can try. Yeah, that's cool. Yes. So this one will do more or less what I described. Gives you. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, nice. Okay,
yeah, but
I'll drop this on the chat.
You still have to get back all the content and do that client side.
Yeah.
So if, like you said before, if you're able to do this server side, is less data transfer to the client, but I don't know if then you stay inside those 50 milliseconds, what you were talking about.
That's actually a good idea. And since this is pure JavaScript, we could actually do that. That's a very nice idea. Thank you both. And the fact is, sometimes it's more effective to do that server side and apply some cache rather than transferring the entire data and then do that on the front end. Because eventually you're going to apply the same JavaScript either on the front end or on the back end. So somewhere there will be a bottleneck. I don't mind applying that on the server and then cache the results. Since the index is immutable, we can cache pretty aggressively, as you may guess. So that's a very, very nice idea. Thank you both.
Cool. Okay, you also had a question, Roberto. Sorry for
Yeah, my question was more, we are doing all of this for free because we paid nothing to you. So what are the limitations of Orama Cloud for free? What is
so
what you give for free, what you give for money?
All right. Can I maybe ask you, Luciano, if you go on the pricing plan
Of course.
Orama, so I can explain myself a bit better.
So pricing, there we go.
Yeah. So there are 3 plans right now, 4 including the open source. With the free unlimited, you have unlimited search queries. If you go on Algolia, for example, you pay every single query. It's like, if I remember correctly, it's 20 cents every 1,000 queries. We do unlimited, but you can have at most 10,000 documents per index and maximum 10 megabytes per index and a maximum of 50 deployments per month. So we don't enforce these limits right now, but we're going to enforce them once the pro plan is going to be active. So you can create unlimited indexes. I don't care. Create as much as you want, but the individual index must have less than 10,000 documents and respect of those rules. With the Pro Unlimited, you have which is free for the next 3 months. You have unlimited queries, then 100,000 documents per index, 100 megabytes maximum index size, and then you could pay per deployment. So there is an inversion of paradigm when it comes to pricing. You don't pay per request, but you pay per deployment. So if you don't deploy very frequently, that's very convenient for you. If you deploy every 5 minutes, maybe it's a bit less convenient, but we can figure this out. And if you want to go over those limits, there is the enterprise plan, which doesn't have a standard pricing. So we can talk about that.
Yeah, but I think it's very generous as a free tier because you can do a lot.
So,
and 50 deployments per month, it means that you deploy more often than once per day. For a static generated blog, once per day is enough.
Like in my case, I will deploy only when I write a new blog post or I add an existing one, and that doesn't happen once per day. Probably happens once per week or even less than that. So it's definitely usable for my use case, probably under the free tier for a good while.
Yeah.
So next streaming is about a GitHub action that does all of that.
Maybe, why not?
That would be awesome because I need that and I need to learn how to do that. So I would really appreciate that. If you could teach me as an attendee, of course, like not in chat.
Yeah, why not? We can organize that.
We can recycle our Rust GitHub actions and convert them. Yes, we can do all of that. Cool.
Okay, should we go close to the wrap up? I don't know if anyone has questions. Please drop them now in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to start to wrap up very quickly.
Okay, first of all, thanks, Michele, for being here and helping us understanding better OramaSearch. It's very interesting. So, you can find the recording on YouTube. The link is on Twitch in the About section. If you're watching this on YouTube, we do live streaming on Twitch every Monday, 6 p.m. Dublin time. Make sure to check the Twitch link in the YouTube description and give us a follow so that you can be notified. Feel free to leave comments, tell us what you wanted, feature requests for OramaSearch, put them in the video, in the comments in the YouTube video. Thank you for the interaction on the chat.
Thanks, everyone, for connecting today. We'll see you next time.
Thank everybody. Bye.
Bye.